Really quickly before this video starts, I want to thank you all so much for the amazing performance and reception of the Nightmares video that I put out. It was a real passion project for me, and I'm thrilled that it got such great feedback. But I don't want to dwell on that too much, because, Lord knows I already spent over an hour talking about Nightmares, so let's get into the actual topic of this video. Thank you again. Black Ops 6 Zombies. I literally haven't played the mode in almost 2 months. Like, the last time I played was when I was making my video on Citadel, back when that first launched. But the whole AI scandal with the voice actors all quitting, the different AI art like the six-fingered Santa, etc., all that just really took the wind out of my sails with Black Ops 6. Killed all enthusiasm for me to play the game, so I didn't. That was, at least until now, with the release of the new map, The Tomb. Going into this map, I'm much less enthusiastic than I was when Citadel first launched, but I'm trying to keep an open mind. After all, I thought Citadel was the best map in Black Ops 6 when it came out, and I still stand by that opinion. I think it's the best of those first three. So let's see if The Tomb lives up to the high standards set by Citadel. Let's dig right in and see just how good it is. I think the best place to start is with the aesthetics of the map, which I think Treyarch pretty much knocked out of the park. The map has 3 different biomes, as I'll call them. There's the surface of the dig site, then there's the underground catacombs, which is the actual tomb of the map, the namesake tomb, and then there's the Dark Ether, or the Dark Ether Nexus as it's called. The top dig site is very Indiana Jones, which is a comparison I made in my Citadel video that I think still holds water here. It looks just like one of the excavation sites from Raiders of the Lost Ark, a bunch of scaffolding and equipment all around. But it's got much more of a Greek vibe here, it's pillars and statues, there's a big face they're digging out of the dirt down the bottom from a big statue. And just the very fact that it's a dig site gets you thinking about Origins, which is arguably the fan favorite zombies map. I mean, literally, when they teased this map during the Citadel outro cutscene, a ton of people thought we were going to be getting an Origins reimagining or Origins remaster just because they said the Sentinel artifacts at the dig site. Just uttering the words dig site makes people think Origins in this context. And the Origins comparisons only get more obvious as you go through the map, but I'll be getting into that later. Then there's the catacombs / tombs, and 2 big maps came to both me and my buddy David's minds when we were playing this for the first time on launch day. Firstly is Ancient Evil, which is probably intentional because that map was the final map of the Chaos story and the last time we saw the Sentinel artifact, which is obviously the MacGuffin that we're after in The Tomb. So that connection is probably very much intentional. The second map that really came to mind is I feel a much more apt comparison though, and it's a bit of a deep cut reference too, which I know people love. And it's World War II Zombies is The Frozen Dawn. Super underrated map, by the way. Love that map. Play it if you haven't. But for anyone who doesn't know, much like Ancient Evil, The Frozen Dawn is set in an ancient civilization buried underground. The Thule civilization, to be exact. As the name suggests, it's a very cold and icy map because the Thule civilization is buried under the ice of Antarctica. And I just feel like The Tomb feels tonally a lot closer to this as opposed to this. The Frozen Dawn and The Tomb are both ancient, just long dead civilizations that have been left to rot, completely forgotten. And tying into this, it's a really cool touch that Ravenov and the other radio characters lose their signal and become indecipherable when you go underground into the actual tombs. But the most visually stunning area of the map is easily the Dark Ether Nexus. It's a very alien feeling environment. There's these weird mushrooms and other plants growing. The whole place has just a really purple color filter over it. The terrain is unstable. Oh, wrong map, my bad. Anyways, this is the Dark Ether Nexus. As you can tell by my hilarious bit there, this reminds me a lot of Awakening from Extinction. Not that it's a bad thing at all, since Awakening is one of the coolest environments in any Call of Duty thing ever. So I'm really happy to see the Tomb have a similar vibe with its Dark Ether. This area rocks, especially after not really seeing any real Dark Ether areas in Black Ops 6 so far. Obviously there was the church on Liberty Falls, but let's be real, that was just a normal building with a Dark Ether themed interior. This is much cooler in my opinion. I also get really strong Revelations vibes, so that's pretty much just because of the space themed skybox in here and the rocks floating around. But as for the actual size of the map, the Tomb is really small. No matter which path out of spawn you choose to take, there's only 3 doors that you need to open to reach Pack-a-Punch. Granted, the doors are all 2,000 plus points, so it'll still take you until round 5 to get to Pack-a-Punch unless you get a double points. But the map is tiny, probably the smallest map in the game currently. That or it's on par with Liberty Falls, but the Tomb, it feels smaller to me. And part of what makes the map feel so small is that once the Dark Ether Nexus is unlocked, 4 portals become available to use. The map is pretty much just an oval, with the Dark Ether Nexus sitting in the middle with how these portals work. Portals open up in the dig site, the ossuary, the Shrine of the Hierophants, and finally in the Subterranean Temple, which is on the opposite side of the map of the dig site, which is spawn, and that's where you need to get to reach the Dark Ether in the first place. These portals are nice because you're never more than like 10 seconds away from one, and you can always just take those to zip around the map quickly, but again, this just contributes to the map feeling smaller. But you know what they say, it's not size that's important, it's how you use it. And when it comes to that, I must say I'm a little disappointed. I was expecting the Dark Ether to take up a much larger fraction of the map just based on the little bit of pre-release info that I saw. Honestly, I was expecting the map to mostly take place in the Dark Ether with the dig site connecting straight into it. Like, I wasn't expecting there to be actual tombs you'd go through, which I know is silly because it's called the tomb, but like, I was expecting the doors out of spawn to lead right into portals into the Dark Ether and have most of the map set in there. But the actual tombs and catacombs are definitely my least favorite part of the map, which sucks because they're obviously the namesake of the map and they make up the majority of it. I'd say half, if not more, of the map is the tombs and the catacombs. They're just a little boring to go through, and I usually find myself either in the Dark Ether or just sitting at spawn while I play. I just think other maps have done underground areas like this in better and more interesting ways. I mean, obviously there's the aforementioned Ancient Evil, Frozen Dawn, and even something like Buried had its tunnels and underground portions more interesting than this. The tomb also reintroduces depth perception, which is just like whatever. Like, I would have preferred Treyarch bring back something like Mule Kick or Tombstone first, or even a new perk. Depth perception isn't bad, but it's just a perk that I only get once I have every other perk. I mean, it literally fills that 10th perk slot because I never buy it before I'm at my 10th perk. Especially since Depth Perception's ability to give you extra salvage was just given to Voltrade in this game, which in Cold War, that was like the one legitimately great thing that it did. Moving on. The tomb features a moving pack-a-punch machine, which is a feature that can sometimes be just straight up obnoxious, but thankfully here it's not bad. The pack-a-punch will always start the game in the Dark Ether, although I kind of feel like it would make more sense if it was here in the actual middle pedestal of the Dark Ether, which I know that's where you build and upgrade the Ice Staff, so that area is taken, but the pack-a-punch machine just kind of feels plopped in a pile of rubble in front of a pillar. Feels like it should be given a bit more grandiose of a location. Occasionally, the pack-a-punch will be relocated to the dig site, spawn, and it'll be up at the top of the dig site, right next to the portal that leads to the Dark Ether Nexus. I don't mind the moving pack-a-punch on this map, because some maps, and namely the big example I have of a map with a horrible moving pack-a-punch system, is Blood of the Dead. On Blood of the Dead, the system is a pain to deal with because the pack-a-punch spots are all about as far away from one another as it could possibly be. It's like Treyarch drew a triangle of the 3 furthest points on the map, and said, we'll put pack-a-punchers there, there, and there. On top of that, there's no way to know where the pack-a-punch is at in Blood of the Dead without just going and checking locations and hoping you get lucky. Which sucks, because even in that same game, even that same launch window, Black Ops 4 launch, Voyage of Despair had a moving pack-a-punch, but it had a thing in the map that would show you where it was at. So why Blood of the Dead doesn't? It's a big mystery. Thankfully, the tomb has neither of these problems. The two spots are only a couple seconds of running away from one another, thanks to the portals, and there are these slabs in each room of the map that tell you where the pack-a-punch is and where the mystery box is currently at. So it's pretty good. It adds a little spice to the map without burning the experience, like something like Blood of the Dead's moving pack-a-punch can. So sure, it's not the most interesting or ambitious zombies map ever made, but how does it actually play? Well, that brings me to what has been one of the most contentious areas regarding Black Ops 6 zombies as a whole, the special enemies. Is the tomb as bad as Terminus and Liberty Falls when it comes to the enemy lineup? Yeah, I think it is. First, we have the usual suspects, the zombies. They come in normal, armored, and heavy variants, which I might add, I think the zombie models look really cool here. They're all dressed in ancient robes and leathers and armor, and they're much more decayed than the COD zombies usually are. Like, a lot of them have like exposed rib cages, they're rotted down to the bone because they're that old. Really cool looking. And like the armored zombies are actually wearing ancient armor instead of body armor like armored zombies usually are in these games. I really appreciate Black Ops 6 making each setting's zombies feel distinct, which is something that used to be a given in zombies, but in the recent games, not so much. Then there's vermin and parasites. They get dedicated rounds as well as spawning in alongside zombies after they've appeared in the max ammo round. You fought these guys before, they've been in like every single map. Amalgams also make their return, which sucks, because I don't like these guys. If they were the only boss zombie on the map, it'd be fine, but they get crammed in with all the other mini bosses and it's a lot. Doppelgasts come back from Citadel as well, and I like them a lot more than the amalgams. They're nowhere near as bullet spongy, and their lack of a tendril grab attack that can pull you in from just across the room makes them a lot more balanced and fun to fight against in my opinion. Then there's also the new enemy, the Shock Mimic. Do you remember mimics from Cold War? Did you like mimics from Cold War? Well, whether you did or didn't, imagine this. What if we made them blue and gave them an electrical stun on their grab attack? Not good enough? Okay, well what if there's a blue glitchy effect around the borders of your screen when there is one near you? It's pretty cool, right? No? I think there's just too many special enemies on this map, and the ones that are here are getting very overused at this point. Remember in the games from Black Ops 1 all the way up through Cold War even, not every map had a big boss zombie, and the ones that did always had a unique zombie for that map. Because let's face it, a big part of what people remember about a map is the boss zombies, as they're usually a standout part of that map and something to really help differentiate it from the other maps, just as much as something like a Wonder Weapon does. Now when you think something like Hall of the Dead, George Romero is like the first thing that comes to mind. You know, if you think Buried, you think of the witches. You think of Mob of the Dead or Blood of the Dead, you think of Brutus, stuff like that, you know? Every map in Black Ops 6 shares pretty much the same lineup of boss zombies with only 1 or 2 exceptions per map, and it makes them all blend together when you're playing them. And the Tomb especially could easily do away with Doppelgasts or the Shock Mimic because they both fill literally the exact same role. They're both just a fast melee mini-boss, and having both of them feels redundant to me. There's also the new trap, the Arrow Trap. It shoots zombies with arrows. Nowhere near as cool as the likes of the Hot Oil Trap, or especially the Point of Power traps from Citadel. Then there's the map's big, new wonder weapon, the Ice Staff. It can be found either in the mystery box, or it can be built by doing a short quest. First, you need to wait until round 8 when your first Shock Mimic spawns. We'll drop Archibald's Monocle, who is the English ghost explorer who acts as the map's main side character over the radio. Then shoot these ether lamps to cycle them through spawn points until they're right next to this mural of a bull, and then also this cave painting with a warrior or a hunter, whichever it's supposed to be. Symbols will appear on the paintings and you need to shoot them in ascending order, because these symbols are basically just Roman numerals. Like, they're not Roman numerals, they're a little different, but if you can read Roman numerals, you can figure this out pretty easily. Once you shoot the last symbol, a lockdown will begin, and you need to survive a couple waves of enemies. You'll get a max ammo and a max armor along the way, and then as well as once you finish, one of the 2 staff pieces. Do both of these lockdowns at both of the murals, and then head into the actual Dark Ether Nexus. Head to the pedestal in the middle, and then interact with it to place the staff parts, and then it'll begin a final lockdown. You need to survive against a just tsunami of zombies, vermin, and parasites, and on top of needing to protect the staff itself, because if enemies damage it too much, the lockdown will fail and you'll need to try again next round. Hot tip, only worry about the zombies who have glowing, like, torsos. All the zombies that are spawned in for anything quest related in this game have purple eyes, including these zombies, but the only ones who actually target the staff are the ones with the purple lightning in their stomach. Successfully defend the staff and you'll be given your free ice staff. That kind of sucks. Yeah, the base ice staff is just really, really bad. It stops killing zombies like a little after round 10 and has no real splash damage, so you'll only be hitting 1, 2, maybe 3 zombies at most. Thankfully, the quest to upgrade it isn't too difficult. I mean, personally, I think upgrading the staff is easier than building it. You need to quickly shoot 3 of these ether lanterns in the tomb/the catacombs, and then go into the dark ether, and 3 rocks floating in the sky will have purple symbols on them. Shoot the symbols on the rocks and they'll lower down so you can get a good look at them. Once you shoot all 3, one of the 4 portals from the dark ether will close, and so you need to go back into the overworld and then find which of the 4 portals is closed, and then on the overworld side of the portal there will be 8 slabs with symbols on them. Shoot the 3 symbols that were on the 3 rocks that were floating in the dark ether, and then go back into the dark ether through that portal, and you'll be on a floating platform with the purple orb. Interact with the orb, it'll drop you down, and this is a moving soul box. You need to just kill zombies around it, keep it moving, you'll do a lap around the dark ether. Once you're done, the orb will float into the middle pedestal, and then you can go interact with it with the ice staff, and you'll upgrade it to the Ol's Arrow. The Ol's Arrow is a much better wonder weapon. It's pretty much the same as it was on Origins, abilities-wise at least, minus the melee attack since this game has melee macchiato. You can still tap fire it, and you also get the reviving shot at the bottom end of the staff, which is necessary for doing the Easter egg. But the big ability everyone's here for is the charged up blizzard attack. This pretty much just locks down an entire area, freezing and insta-killing zombies forever, and then seriously slowing down special zombies. It's awesome. I think the staff is objectively a bit worse here than it was on Origins, just because this map has a much wider variety of special enemies, and special enemies are not instantly killed by the staff. I mean, vermin and parasites are, but they don't really count. On Origins, it was mostly zombies with an occasional panzer, so the staff was killing everything. But it's still a whole lot of fun to use, and still a really good wonder weapon. And then there's the Easter egg of the map, and it's pretty much only got 3 steps, and 2 of them are just piss easy. First, you obtain the Old Arrow, which, got it, we already knocked that off the list. Then step 2 is completing 4 trials, each one correlating with a different special enemy type, and they have to be done in a certain order. To start a challenge, you first shoot the crystal of the statue of the enemy, because there are like 4 of these statues kind of around the middle pedestal in the Dark Aether Nexus. Shoot the crystal on the statue, interact with the crystal, and then go to that corresponding statue in the overworld and you can do the challenge. First is the Vermin Challenge. It's located in the spawn room and you just have to kill a bunch of vermin to fill up the statue like a soul box. Once you fill a statue, you pick up the essence from it and you need to take it back to its corresponding statue in the Dark Aether, but you can't use the closest portal to the statue. So for the Vermin Challenge, you can't use the blue portal, so it's best to go to yellow or green instead. Then you do the Parasite Challenge. This is just outside the yellow portal in the Shrine of the Hierophants. Purple energy will shoot into parasites, and once killed, it'll drop to the ground in like an orb form you need to go pick up. Pick up the energy and then go run it into the statue, and then do this enough times, you'll charge up the statue all the way, and then you'll win the challenge. Then you just take the essence back into the Dark Aether, and you complete the challenge, start the next one. After that, it's the Doppelgast Challenge by the green portal in the ossuary. Just kill a bunch of Doppelgasts while dodging lasers and crystals that shoot around the ground and shoot up through the ground. This challenge is actually really good for getting kill streaks like mutant injectors, chopper gunners, etc. due to the sheer number of Doppelgasts that spawn. This is a really good point if you're doing the Easter egg to get everyone loaded up with kill streaks like that for the boss. And then lastly is the Amalgam Challenge. This is in Deep Excavation, outside the red portal right in front of the Quick Revive. This spawns a single elite Amalgam for you to kill, who occasionally will become shielded by a zombie. Kill the zombie shielding the Amalgam and you'll tell who it is because there's a big purple beam connecting them. And then you'll make the Amalgam vulnerable again. Rinse and repeat until he's dead. After these challenges are done, you're ready for the boss fight. And boy, do I have a lot to say about this boss fight. For starters, it's a massive pile of horseshit. The fight is against the Sentinel artifact, and the main mechanic of the fight is super easy. Just kill zombies and avoid the artifact's lasers until it turns purple. Once the Sentinel artifact is purple, it becomes vulnerable, and you just need to dump as much damage into the artifact as humanly possible to break it, and to deal damage. This is fine for the first few phases, as the artifact will simply add more lasers as you go along, capping out at 4. After the phase with 4 lasers, it'll begin to spawn in boss zombies, and this is where a bullshit difficulty spike comes in. The artifact begins to spawn a zombie carrying a copy of the artifact you can kill to try and get some extra damage on the boss. At first, it's just a heavy zombie, which is alright. Then it's an elite Doppelgast, then an elite Shock Mimic, then an elite Amalgam. These elite enemies can easily 1 or 2 shot you depending on your current health and armor, but not only are you fighting these, there's also the normal enemies, non-elite special enemies that there's a shit ton of, and then also the Sentinel Artifact's lasers, which by this point will be moving really fast around the arena, and then also they hit for like 125 damage, maybe more than that. I actually had a whole bit recorded about how I wasn't able to beat this Easter egg. But as of yesterday, which was Monday, February 3rd, me and my buddies actually were able to beat the Easter egg, but only by cheesing the boss fight by hiding in a little corner of the bottom level of the boss fight arena where the lasers were not a factor. So we could only make the fight winnable by completely cutting out like half of the fight. It's too difficult. But not in like a fun or well-balanced way. It's just giving you a dozen things to juggle all at once and hoping you don't fumble. This is such a step down from the prior boss fights, even in Black Ops 6. Citadel and Terminus have pretty difficult but also really well-balanced fights against these large enemies, and Liberty Falls' boss fight, if you even want to call that, at the very least isn't overly infuriating to get through. This fight isn't fun, and it isn't good. The rest of the Easter egg may suck, but at least it only takes like 15 minutes to do once you get the upgraded staff. If this fight was at the end of a longer or more difficult quest, it'd just be a humongous kick in the dick. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I saw some guy leave a comment in the zombie subreddit that suggested that the fight was made to be so overly difficult to drain people's gobblegums to get them to buy more. And knowing Activision, I can believe that. And then there's the ending cutscene. It's a minute long, and the only voice actor is not Julie Nathanson. The crew get the Sentinel artifact, and then Sam gives them a little rundown on its history, dropping a little reference to 9 in there to get people going, oh, 9. I remember that map. And then it gets very heavily implied that the next map will be Richtofen's mansion that we saw him fighting through during the Liberty Falls intro cutscene. I do not care for the tomb. Is it a bad map? No, not like objectively. It plays well and it can be fun sometimes, but it just lacks soul, and it lacks an identity of its own. And this map very clearly got hit very hard by the absence of the voice actors due to the ongoing voice actor strike. I made it very clear in my Citadel video that I am staunchly on the side of the voice actors, but their absence is really felt here, and just hinders this map's ability to tell a good story. Yeah, all the characters have a couple lines about making progress through the map and doing the quest, if you can even really call it a quest, but there's no intro cutscene whatsoever, and the outro cutscene is really lame. There's 2 shots of the actual characters, who again, don't say anything at all, and then it's just a CGI scene of Sam and the Sentinel artifact. The lack of an intro cutscene especially is really baffling. Me and my friends literally thought the map was bugged on launch day and that just wasn't playing it when you started a solo game. But no, there's just no intro cutscene. But more than that, the tomb just doesn't try anything new whatsoever save for the boss fight, which again, sucks. It so clearly wants to remind you of Origins. I mean, they literally play songs from the Origins soundtrack periodically throughout your match. It's nostalgia bait, it doesn't get any more blatant than that. The other obvious example is the presence of the Ice Staff as the Wonder Weapon. It's just something for people to play the map and then get nostalgic about the good old days that Black Ops 6 marketed itself so hard as a return back to. But it completely misses the point of Origins and what made Origins remarkable. On Origins, the staves were something revolutionary. A set of 4 fully unique Wonder Weapons was never seen before, and it allowed people to have favorites and kind of express themselves with which staff they like the most, as each one has strengths and weaknesses. Except the Ice Staff, that's pretty much just the best one. It's all strengths, no weaknesses. And that's why the staves not only became iconic in their own right as Wonder Weapons, but that set of 4 unique different Wonder Weapons became a standard feature in a ton of Zombies maps going forward after Origins. Here, it's only 1 staff and there's like nothing new about it. Origins has an Easter egg with a ton of steps that feels like a real quest, and the tomb has 1 step and an awful boss fight. Both maps have a section set in another dimension that can only be reached using a set of 4 different multicolored portals. And I like the Origins version, the crazy place better, entirely because I like the purple lightning portal since it looks like a nether portal. I am that petty with it. Both maps have these little dig sites you can dig up with shovels, but whereas on Origins, the dig sites were important for building the Ice Staff, and also doing other side Easter eggs, on top of just being able to get free power-ups, free guns. On the tomb, they can be used to get a free ray gun if you have the depth perception perk, but most of the time you're just getting salvage or like shitty equipment you don't want. Even art direction wise, the maps are polar opposites. Origins was set in northern France during the winter of 1918. The whole map was very dark and cold feeling, lots of blues and grays with just the moonlight shining down on you as you played through the map. The dig site portion of the tomb has a much warmer and brighter environment than the one from Origins. The whole map is just basked in sunlight, and it gives it, again, much more Indiana Jonesy adventure-y vibe that I do really like. Neither one is objectively better, but I bring this up to illustrate that no matter how much the tomb tries to ape Origins, the 2 are complete opposites. I think it really comes down to the fact that the tomb has no ambition. Because if there's one word I could use to describe Origins, it's ambitious. It's a humongous map, especially for the time. On top of that, Origins was a reboot, and it started a whole new era for not only the storyline of zombies, but also the community as a whole. Most of the new things Origins tried worked, but some didn't, and that's fine. Because yeah, the Templar zombie rounds suck, and the 6 generator power system can be really annoying to deal with. But they were something new. The tomb is just a very painfully by-the-numbers zombies map. The only new things it really has are the new guns from Season 2 of Black Ops 6. And the tomb being such a mediocre map has really helped to highlight a problem with Black Ops 6 that I have that has become more evident as more maps have released. And I think will become even more obvious as more maps release down the line. All the maps in Black Ops 6 feel the same to play. There's quite a few things that really contribute to this, and I think I might make a video on this all in its own once more maps come out and once the game finishes its life cycle, and I can really get some concrete opinions out about this. But one of the big things that contributes to this is, like I brought up earlier, the special enemies. Every map having the same selection of special enemies, really makes them feel very samey, even when their settings are anything but the same. Another thing is the point system and the loadout system. If this game had the old hit-based point system, it would incentivize people, myself included, I'm not saying I'm immune to this, I am absolutely not, to use different guns to maximize points on the early rounds. But every gun being able to get the max amount of points from a zombie means there's no reason to not bring your single best, just meta, loaded, Warzone weapon into every single match. Take me for example, whether I'm playing Terminus, or Citadel, or the Tomb, or anything, I'm always bringing in my kitted out ASG-1 because it's just one of the best guns in the game, and with the loadout system and prestige tokens, it's always there for me. So I'm always going to use it, you know, optimal strategy and all. I'm not even going to say that loadouts are the problem here, but if I only got like 60 points for getting a kill with the shotgun, I'd probably opt for something else and be more experimental with my loadouts. But as is, and I assume most other people, have one gun, maybe two that they really like and just use every game, making all these matches feel the same. This wasn't a problem when it was just Terminus and Liberty Falls, but now that we have 2 extra maps, it's really helped me notice that the actual gameplay experience just isn't very distinct from any of these maps. And it honestly makes the older maps worse in retrospect. There's nothing here like the farming system from Zetsubo, or like the challenge system from 9. There's nothing super unique outside of Wonder Weapons that really helps differentiate these maps from one another. So what do I think about the Tomb? I think it's like 4 or 5 out of 10. If you count the bad Easter egg, or at least if I count the bad Easter egg, an awful boss fight, then I give it a 4. But disregarding those, it's a flat 5 out of 10 for me. It's just one of the most middle-of-the-road, mediocre zombies maps Treyarch has ever made. It's impressively unimpressive. Archibald is an entertaining character for a few matches, but after 5 or 6 games of hearing the same lines, he can get a bit grating. The one thing about this map that is legitimately great is the Easter egg song, Dig, because it has Matt Heafy from Trivium on the track doing the vocals. This song is awesome, it's pretty heavy, and it feels like it would fit right in with the Black Ops 1 Easter egg songs, which I think were generally the heaviest overall. This is legit my favorite Easter egg song since like Alone from Die Machine. Go listen to Dig already if you haven't, it's great. Am I stoked for the future of Black Ops 6? Not really, I mean especially if this is how they're going to be telling the story going forward. I'll still be playing the new maps and making videos on them when they come out, but after I beat the Easter egg of the Tomb, I probably won't be touching the game again until that new map drops in a couple months. Here's hoping this new map, whether it be Richtofen's Mansion or an Egypt map like I've seen some people speculating, I'm hoping it'll be better. If it is Richtofen's Mansion, I've got a prediction to make. The mansion will actually be the mansion from Buried, and the witches will come back, except now they'll be Richtofen's wife, who is like dead, I think, from the Liberty Falls intro. Come back to this video in a month and a half or 2 months or whenever the new map comes out and see how well this ages. Thank you so much for watching. I really don't want to spend any more of your time or mine talking about the Tomb. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like or subscribing to show your support. It really means a lot. But as always, peace out, God bless. Don't let that elite doppelgast touch you inappropriately in the boss fight like he did to me, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, cause I got it like that. Flow so smooth like I got it on tap. Yeah, and I'ma say it be a good night while I'm on my Yingling, while I'm drinking Bud Light. Can you get it when you miss